GM fam, we're having some fun with Dune Analytics this morning, particularly a fantastic new dashboard built by Blockworks. Let's take a look. Now, I think Dune is great, particularly the volume of SQL data that you can query, but I actually don't commonly use Dune for two reasons. First off, I like to crunch my own data, pull in disparate sources that might not exist, and Dune charges a hefty monthly privilege if you want to export your data. Second, all these beautiful dashboards that people build tend to go out of date pretty quickly, especially because Curve is incredibly fast moving, so it's really tough to get good data. That being said, Dune provides great snapshots into the moment in time from which that dashboard was created. So let's take a look at some of the interesting trends on this particular one. First off, really appreciate the plug for our little Substack right up top. Way to go. Looking through things, a lot of interesting charts, and one that stuck out to me in particular was this one here. This is covering the Curve stable volume, and for some time people have been dismissively referring to Curve as a stablecoin exchange. And of course, Curve is fantastic at stablecoins. But if you look at this lately, the trend line is very clearly towards volatile assets, particularly crypto, dominating trading volume. These have just so much more frequent reason for trading that it's almost impossible to imagine that this doesn't completely dwarf stablecoin trading soon. Stablecoin trading always going to be a big part of Curve. Just if someone says Curve, they just do stablecoins. They're probably a dinosaur. Some other interesting charts. One that's interesting here, we see the supply schedule. And I like this one, which is the inflation rates. Because the old knock against Curve was, oh my gosh, your inflation rate is absurd. But this is also kind of a boomer talking point. So here we see the last emissions reduction in August, where the 100-day moving average swiftly moved down. And we're at another 100-day moving average drop, so we can expect this drop even further. We're currently only at like a 15% net inflation rate, which is not terribly crazy. And within a few years, as you can see, Curve is actually going to end up being scarce. This chart here also shows the effect of the reduction on liquidity. Like seeing the VECRV locking rates, because we're supposed to be in a bear market, it's supposed to be a Curve death spiral, but Curve users just keep locking. It's kind of crazy. This is also a fun one. This one's borrowed from OXWeegie, and this particular dashboard is showing IC as the rise of Frax, and this doesn't even include the Frax 2 pool, which is also becoming utterly dominant in this kind of bear market trend. So it's very interesting to see how fast these things can change, and how Frax is approaching 50% dominance of Curve, which is pretty exciting. Here we see some data on that aforementioned Frax base pool. And this chart does a really good job of breaking down the USDC USDT DAI ratio, which had been dominated by Tether, and then over here dominated by USDC, and now it's kind of approaching something closer to parity with Tether creeping up. What's interesting about this is the great Fiddy had suggested that 3 pool is actually a bit of a leading indicator. So here they directly plot out the price of USDT relative, the price of Ether relative to USDT pool share. And finally, this is some bad news, but you were in a bear market, and after Terra collapsed here, it kind of looks like the existing Curve users haven't really recovered. Now, it's not a death spiral. It's only down like 10% from before. So here it's kind of cruising along here, and here it just drops about 10% or so. Who knows? Is this going to be a persistent trend, or is this just temporary? So all in all, fantastic dashboard. Kudos to Blockworks and the team for building this out. It would be interesting to hear your thoughts and your takeaways in the comments.